Hi again, Dr. Daly.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. If you hear some weird noise in the background, it's my dog with a Kong, and it would either be that or the barking. So,
Oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe the number of times there are dog noises in the background of our meetings. It's constant. We see cattails coming through. That's totally
the
the
only
norm.
way. The only
Yes.
way.
Yes.
So right now, if it's cool with you, I would love to hear from you about what makes working at Emancipet so special. What are the benefits and how your experience has been?
Oh, of course. So Emancipet, I think the number one reason that I work for Emancipet is the mission. So our mission is to make veterinary care affordable and accessible for everyone. And we say everyone, that is our goal. Our goal is to see every pet have access to the care that it needs. The ambitious goal, not necessarily through just our organization, is 2028. That was set a few years back, but that's kind of the vision is, right? We just want to see as much reach as possible because there are so many pets that don't receive basic preventative care. And animal overpopulation is still a problem, and spay neuter services really do provide an exponential increase in the quality of an animal's life when you look at population medicine. So it's a really big goal, but it's something that I can't wait to see happen. So that's why I work for Emancipet. When I was an associate veterinarian, so I transitioned to my new role as the veterinarian trainer in November. But as an associate veterinarian, I worked 4 days a week, which is pretty sweet. And
Love
then
that.
yeah. And I did a mix of the healthy pet services, which is our vaccines, prevention, heartworm testing, retroviral testing for cats on a walk-in basis. And those run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I really liked starting work at 10 a.m. You kind of have a little morning to yourself, kind of relax and walk into the day. As the surgery modules go, those ones, the veterinarian starts out at about 9 a.m. and then we start surgery at 10 a.m. And with that 5-hour surgical window, you usually finish up surgery around 3, check on all of your patients, log all of the controlled drugs, and then you end up out the door by about 4 if everything goes smoothly. Now, every day can be different, and some days, that could be even earlier. But when you think about that schedule, 4 days a week, it's a pretty balanced work-life balance. So when you tag that with working for a nonprofit, believing in the mission, and being able to have that quality of life and that balance,
What more could you want from a job?
Yeah, no. And I think one of the other things coming from emergency medicine, I think that a lot of times you get follow-up from clients about what your patients need, right? And so when you work at Emancipet, we have a resource center. So all of our clients know that if anything goes wrong or they need to reach someone, they call a main number. And then everything is sorted out to the point where as a doctor, you're really contacted infrequently with that information, and you're allowed to leave work at work. I know lots of veterinarians that are general practitioners that they struggle with that, right? It's hard to turn your phone off when you know that you're the last stop in that pet getting care. When you know that there's a whole team behind you that are providing the support that you need to your patients and your clients, it's so much easier to step away from the day and enjoy your life outside of veterinary medicine. So I think that's one of the best things that I found working at Emancipet, because I didn't have that in my previous role.
That is so important, just to hear about, like, not only, a full life, but like emotional and mental care being factored into the career, the knowing that you're going to come and put your best effort in, and then you get to recoup and live your life outside of. With Emancipet being a nonprofit, people might wonder, how financial sustainability is possible. Can you talk also about how Emancipet takes in a veterinarian's financial needs and their financial well-being into account on top of work-life balance?
Yeah, I will tell you that in 2019, when I moved from the ER to Emancipet, it was a lateral salary move. So I made the same amount at Emancipet, and my ER contract was for 2,000 hours, and those were scheduled hours, so I worked a lot more than that. And so when you look at it from a per hour standpoint, I was doing a lot better at Emancipet.
Yeah.
So just thinking about, we offer a really competitive salary with the balance of the actual hours that you're there and committed to the work. I think that is invaluable. Also, public service loan forgiveness, which is a program through the government where if you work 10 years while you're in repayment of your loans, you can have your loan balance forgiven tax-free. So veterinary school is 4 years, super expensive.
Yeah.
Most veterinarians are graduating with over $200,000 of loans. And those interest rates usually hover around 5-6%. So when you do these pay as you earn models and you're paying about 10% of your salary towards these loans, but the loan balance is so high and the interest rate is so high, you hardly touch the principal.
Yeah.
So a lot of veterinarians could really benefit from the public service loan forgiveness. What is interesting is it wasn't really working. So I think it was under 2% of the people that applied to the program were actually getting their loans forgiveness because they were being real sticklers about, did you pay this loan balance on time or these other things. The government, as part of the CARES Act, has really revamped that system. And we're seeing veterinarians, on some of the Facebook groups I'm a part of, they're celebrating because now that the recording system is working, people are actually having their loans forgiven. People are having $300,000 of debt forgiven tax-free. And being able to see that is part of this, that working for a 501c3 or a government job as a veterinarian, you don't have to consider that you might have to pay. So when loans if they get forgiven through a government program, that's usually after 20 years, but then you have to pay taxes on it as an income tax.
Yeah.
So most veterinarians are holding on to their debt. And then, not only, when they do have that debt forgiven, they've got huge lump sums that they have to pay, and they're in repayment for 10 extra years. So that public service loan forgiveness, I think, is a real game changer. And for young veterinarians graduating with lots of debt, anyone with a good financial brain should be considering nonprofit work.
It's amazing because it's yet again another way that and I say yet again in general in our country, financial information isn't being provided. So we have these misconceptions and assumptions that become sort of the standard belief system that just aren't true and don't help us. Can you explain, since you touched on it a bit, Emancipet's mission and how Emancipet veterinarians make a difference in their community? Because when you talk about nonprofit, right, it is community work. So when, on top of, this is a stacking episode, on top of, mental and sort of full person well-being, on top of financial well-being, there's also this mission and this sort of difference making layer. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that if you can.
Oh, for sure. So our clinics are all based in communities that were assessed to be in need. So everywhere that our clinic is, we know that community needs us. When I was working as an associate, I was full-time on the mobile clinic, which is a really cool program where we set up in mostly public parks and provide care on a walk-in basis to whoever shows up in that park. And I will tell you that we see people from all different walks of life with their pets, and what people share and how they connect with people that are obviously there to help them, that have set up, pitched a tent. We're here, we're giving free rabies vaccines, your exam is free, and I'm here to talk to you and help you care for your family. those interactions, the gratitude that you feel from the community, it's just so rewarding. You know, it's one of those little mental reels that you can pull from and be when you're having a hard day. Why am I in this really hard career, right? Being a veterinarian, it comes with lots of ups and downs, and you know, pets don't live as long as they should, and we deal with a lot of things, but having that connection to the community and knowing that you're supporting the people and the pets in that community is what keeps me in this role. And I'm so grateful that Emancipet has created this veterinary world where we can do that.
Oh, just that idea of having that reel, that mental reel to pull from. It's, you know, we need that. We all need that. Can I ask you why Emancipet for you personally? Like, what is the most rewarding part for you? Is it those mental reels? Is it all of it? Or is it you've talked about like really being in this to help animals, and I'm just wondering, it sounds like you would be doing that no matter what. It just feels like who you are. So I'm just wondering if there's any other, or is it all of those pieces that we've discussed that make you aligned with Emancipet?
It is all of those pieces. I also really enjoy that Emancipet hires technicians that don't have a background in animal, you know, they're in animal medicine. They may have worked at a groomer's, or they may have never touched an animal before. And so as a veterinarian working with these technicians, I get to see that spark from them, you know, that joy of helping the community, but also of learning how to draw blood, of learning how to restrain a cat, of all these basic skills, and then empowering them to move on to being a manager at the clinic. Or sometimes our technicians move on to work as emergency technicians in the local emergency room, but really being a pipeline for more people to get into this world is something that Emancipet does. You know, allowing people with no background to work with animals is not super typical. And so it means that we need robust training. And I, as a veterinarian, I like doing that. So I like, you know, showing up to a clinic and working with a person that I've never met. Tell me your story. Have you ever worked with pets before? What have you learned so far? Like, what can we talk about that's gonna help you develop your knowledge and your technical skills so that you get where you want to go? I think that's really fun. Maybe maybe other people do too, but I really
love
think
it. You're basically practicing your muscle of trusting and having faith in people, which is so important to help animals. We have to do that. We can't do it without people, you know?
Yeah. No, I think the environment of teaching and learning is something that I really value and that Emancipet supports. And so that's another reason on top of all the other ones that we've talked about that I work for Emancipet.
My last question, your oath as a veterinarian, right? How much does that weigh in your life, and how is Emancipet's vision a part of it? Like, that oath to me is just something I think about, like, wow, what a beautiful like part of the work. And do you feel that when you go into the clinics? Do you feel that in action?
Yeah, I think there's a purity to the work when you work at a nonprofit and you work in the community that can be a little bit more obscured when you work in an emergency setting. You know, it's really intuitive to see, I help this puppy by giving it a parvo vaccine, and this puppy goes into an environment where he's exposed to that disease and he doesn't get it, right? Because we've vaccinated him. I think that having that community relation, the public health sort of perspective is part of the oath, you know, and taking care of every animal that you meet. I think when you are able to practice medicine in a way where you do have a volume, right? So we see a large number of patients. That means that we have helped a large number of patients. And I really like that. That's something that, you know, if you could say you take the oath and you apply it to as many pets as possible, well, working at Emancipet allows you to do that.
Yeah. Wow. That's really a beautiful thing to be able to see it domino effect like that.
Yeah.
You're a lucky, lucky vet. Thank you for answering, and thank you for being so honest with us about the work you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me here.